I want to leave my girlfriend who was roped. I realized right from the start that I might come across as a jerk and probably get lots of hate for this, but I'm looking for all points of view. Also, this is going to be very long because I just don't know what to leave out, and honestly, I need to vent. Here's the story. A year and a month ago, my girlfriend was assaulted as she was leaving work. Thankfully, she was not killed. However, her attacker did threaten her with a weapon. Fortunately, the store she works at had cameras in the parking lot, and between them getting video of the attack and the bank across the street getting the attacker's car on camera, the police were able to catch him within a day. Between the video and DNA testing, he didn't even contest it. He just pled guilty in exchange for not receiving the maximum sentence. Since there were aggravating circumstances with the weapon, the judge gave him a 20-year sentence. And with time off for good behavior, he'll be out in about 10 years, give or take. I tell you all of that to make it clear that her attacker is no longer a threat. She doesn't have to fear him coming back for her. At least not for 10 years or so. Obviously, this was a very traumatic event in her life, and while I was not a victim per se, it was also very traumatic for me as well. I can't imagine what she has gone through, and I don't compare my situation to hers at all. But I have had severe bouts of depression because I couldn't protect her. Knowing someone else was hurting her sometimes was almost more than I could handle. Right after the incident, she did not want to see me. I get that. It hurt, but I understood. Her parents picked her up from the hospital, and I did not see or hear from her for a week, which I sort of get, but I think I could have gotten a text or something just saying she was okay. Finally, after a week, her sister calls me and lets me know that she is staying with her parents and that she will be calling me in a couple of days. She never called me. Instead, I once again get a text from her sister saying she would like me to come over for a few minutes so we can talk. I get up and go over, and I'm greeted at the door by her mother, who very calmly and very coldly starts laying out to me how I am to act and what I am to say. I am further instructed to not attempt to make any physical contact with her, as in hugging or anything. Okay, again, I get it, major trauma. I'm sure they have been coached by therapists, counselors, or something on what to say and do around her, though I play along. I walk in, and she is sitting on a chair with her dad standing next to her, her sister sitting on the couch. As I walk into the room, the sister starts talking and telling me that my girlfriend wants me to know that she is okay, but obviously has been traumatized and appreciates my understanding in her recovery. She never said one single word to me, and barely looked at me. Again, this was right after the event, and I'm understanding that this is how it has to be. Honest to God, that entire conversation was just awkward as hell. I leave, go home, and attempt to focus on how I can help her. I start Googling how to deal with a survivor and what I can expect. She starts going to therapy, initially 2 times a week. Then after 2 months, it goes down to 1 day a week. In the meantime, she finally makes contact with me and asks to meet at a coffee shop. I get there, and she is already there and waiting. At this point in time, they had her so medicated that I was dealing with a zombie for the most part. There was no emotion, and she was very methodical in her speech. Basically, she wanted to get together today to tell me that she couldn't go out with me for a while until she got past some issues she was dealing with. Of course, I told her I understood. This was almost a month after the attack, and this was our first conversation by ourselves, so I was already living under this assumption. I told her I would be there for her, and that whatever she needed, whether that be space or a shoulder to cry on or anything, I was there for her. I started to tell her that I loved her, and she stopped me. She told me that right now she didn't want to hear that and that I had to respect her wishes. I was once again a little hurt, and, frankly, surprised, but I said whatever she wanted. She starts texting me the next day, little things, nothing important, but I think it is a big step in getting back to where we were. This goes on for another month and a half. I finally asked her at the month-and-a-half mark if we could meet for dinner. She didn't reply for 2 days, and then said that she had to wait to talk to her therapist. Finally, she agrees to this, but sets the date for another month away. Now, mind you, this is almost 4 months after the attack, and so far, had 1 physical conversation with her in person, and 1 bizarre conversation with her and her family. Oh yay, I need to mention this. I am not being updated on her progress by anyone. Granted, I realize that I am not officially family, nor am I entitled to anything, but it would have been nice to just get a text or call or something from someone telling me that she was doing well in therapy, or was not, or anything. We go out to eat at a small bistro that we used to go to all the time. I met her there, and I was waiting for her to show up. After sitting for a half hour waiting, I text to see what was up. I just get a text saying, on my way. She finally arrives and sits down. I ask her how she has been, and she snapped at me and told me not to ask her personal question. We ate, and after dinner, I wanted to just sit and talk, because I missed the person I had talked to almost every day for the previous 3 years. But when she was done eating, she said that she was ready to go home. I asked her if she could stay for just a few minutes to talk, but I could see that she was becoming physically anxious, and I did not want to upset her. So I said that I loved her and missed her. She just walked away. She goes back to texting me the next day like nothing had been wrong. We actually start to see each other once a week for lunch, and she's getting more and more comfortable with being out. So she sits and talks for a while. She has also started a new job, which she tells me about. This goes on for another 4 months. I'm happy to see her and all, but honestly, I'm very lonely, and we have not even so much as held hands. Then one day, she doesn't show up for lunch. I text to see if she is okay. No reply. Call her parents to see if they know where she is, and to make sure she is okay. I got the runaround from them, and by this time, I'm starting to get upset because I don't want to know where she was or anything. I just wanted to know if she was okay. After actually saying that, Mom says yes, she is okay. Don't expect to hear from her for a while. Well, that makes me start to think she has had a relapse and is in the hospital, but what can I do? All I do is go home and try to take my mind off of it. 2 weeks pass with nothing from anybody. I'm trying my best to be reasonable here. But basically, I call her sister and ask if she is still alive or what. She knew I was getting frustrated, so she apologizes and says that her sister told them to specifically not let me talk to her. At this point, I break down. I don't know what I've done wrong here. I have not pushed her, I have not tried to get her to be with me in any way other than to just talk to me, and even then I've had very generic conversations so as not to upset her. I then get a text from her asking if I would meet with her at an address I wasn't familiar with, but once I looked it up, I determined it was a therapist's office. I am told to be there at 4, which meant I had to leave work early to get there. I check in at the front desk, and I'm told that the therapist wants to speak to me alone for a few minutes. She comes in, and I now know where the parents were getting this from, because after formally greeting me, she then started to provide me with a list of do's and don'ts. She then told me that my girlfriend wanted to speak to me, and had something to tell me. I go in, and she is sitting in one chair, and I am instructed to sit in the other. She has a box of tissues and has been crying. The therapist tells me that I am here because my girlfriend has something to tell me, and that she wanted the safety of the therapist's office to feel safe. She then proceeds to tell me that the reason she did not meet me for lunch that day is because she was with another guy, someone from her new job, and that they had been intimate with each other. She might as well have taken a weapon out and shot me right there. I am dumbfounded. I honestly can't describe the emotions that went through me at that time. Rage, hate, anger, and sorrow, just to name a few. I just sat there with tears welling up. She then went on to say that this was not just a one-time thing, and that she had been with this guy multiple times. And in fact, she was seeing him the entire time we had started meeting up for lunch. At this point, I had heard enough and just got up to leave. She called out to me to stop and said that she didn't want me to leave angry. I honestly was not angry. I felt betrayed more than anything else. Angry came later, and when it did, I called her sister to get some answers because, honestly, I was thinking this had been going on for quite a while. But instead, she told me that her sister never really wanted to be with me again after the incident, and that she never expected me to hang around. She told me that she was always very frustrated that I kept calling her and trying to see her, but she did not have the guts to break it off with me, because she thought I would make it worse for her somehow. So she just strung me along. Her sister said that I was so nice that they didn't think I would actually wait, but when I did, they were all shocked. And then, when I started being too nice to her, that is when she said she was actually planning to break up with me altogether, because I was just too good. I know a lot of you are going to say that this was not her, but rather her family or maybe her trauma speaking, but it honestly does not matter. I was there for her when she needed someone, and she shut me out. I respected it, was patient. Now, not only has she cheated on me, but it has apparently been going on for months, and she never had any intention of staying with me to begin with. After hearing that from her sister, I really did get angry, and while I do not blame her for being a victim, I do hate her for using me like this. I am just so crushed. I spent months being alone, hurt, and scared for her, and trying to find ways to make her feel better, only to have this happen. That is why I want to leave her. A part of me feels guilty too, and I don't want to abandon her, but I do hate her, and I hate myself for feeling that way. I'm lost.